about a month ago, maybe not even quite a month ago at this point, I tried out Xbox Game Pass on PC, but not the normal Xbox Game Pass on PC. I tried out their cloud gaming on PC. Full disclosure, this is the third time I'm recording an intro for this video. I recorded an intro when I initially tested it, and I felt like I was rambling way too much. And then like a week later, I was recording another intro, and I just started editing that video, and I was getting bored listening to myself. It was just way too long, and clearly like the long discussions about like technical things just is not my style. Basically, to summarize what I was saying in the intros that are scrapped, Xbox Game Pass, the cloud side of it, coming to PC and iOS. It wasn't on iOS before. That's a whole different conversation, but it coming to PC is nothing but good for Xbox and Game Pass, because you're gonna have people like my one friend who plays, he doesn't have an Xbox, he's using cloud on his PC to play game MLB The Show, which for some reason only came to console. It's not coming to PC, but it's on cloud, so he can play it on PC now that the cloud gaming is on PC. And just in general, they might get more people that maybe have enough money for Game Pass but don't have an Xbox or want an Xbox for whatever reason, don't have enough for a good gaming PC. It just gives more options. It gives more options, more people, more ways to play, and that obviously is gonna be good for them no matter what. So I want to try it, honestly, just because the technology sort of intrigues me. I never tried Stadia, but that's also because of Google, and I didn't really want to pay into something that might have gotten canceled in like a year or two, and considering they, I think after 2 years, I think it was only around for about 2 years, they closed the Stadia, was it Stadia Games and Entertainment, which was the branch that was supposed to be bringing like first party titles to Stadia, and they already closed that, in addition to the like 200 some other products that like Google has closed or canceled. So me along with millions of other people were just like, yeah, let's give it a bit and see if Google actually sticks with this. But in general, the whole cloud gaming stuff is intriguing from a technology standpoint. It's just, I don't feel like the technology is quite there yet, and that's really what I'm testing here. The three main things that I'm testing is, one, the visual quality, because Xbox, like PlayStation Now also does it, they're in 720p. I think PlayStation Now is starting or has rolled out 1080p streaming on their platform, and I know Game Pass has, like, at least has been testing that internally, but right now it's only 720p streaming. Stadia, on the other hand, is 1080p and 4K if you pay for the like pro subscription. In theory, at least. I don't know how well it works in practice, but in theory it is in 1080p and 4K. So basically, first thing I wanted to check was just, how do the games look? Second thing, network quality, obviously, because if you're going to be streaming a game, you need a good network, because it's not like a Twitch stream or a YouTube video where you can buffer and basically load some of the video ahead of time. You need to have that on demand. When you press the button, you have to see what that button press did. So the network has to be really quick. It needs to be efficient, especially because a lot of people don't have good internet, because let's face it, internet ISPs in the US are absolute dog shit. So obviously you want it to be a stable connection. You don't want it to use too much download speed, or else that's going to limit the amount of people that can use the cloud gaming. I think the recommendation for Xbox was 20 megabits per second down, which I have 100 on my network, so we'll see how that works out. And then the third thing, which kind of goes with the network but is a little bit different, which is input lag. Obviously, if you're playing a first-person shooter, a racing game, something that requires precise motion, any amount of input lag is bad. With the input having to go from your computer to their servers, back with the video then coming back to your computer, that needs to be quick so that you don't have a significant amount of input lag. So I'm gonna be checking that out because that could be a complete disqualifying factor right off the bat. If there's a lot of input lag, then playing on, a cloud gaming thing, that's not gonna really work out too well. So I'm going to kick it to me in the past to actually test the service. Maybe I'll reference things that I didn't actually say in the intro. That's again because this is now the third time I've recorded this intro. So if I say anything weird, you know why. I think first we're gonna play Donut Country. I'm gonna play a couple games. I'm only gonna play them for like 10-15 minutes each, because this isn't about the games. This is just about seeing the technology in action. The reason I'm choosing Donut Country is I want to start with a slower game first. Donut Country doesn't have a lot of action, doesn't have a lot of things going on while you're playing it. By the way, if you've never played Donut Country and you like weird short indie games, like, just do yourself a play. I can't say words. Do yourself a favor and play Donut Country. Loaded fine. So far I haven't had any network issues, although I'm not actually in the game, but at least on the phone, up in the top left, there's usually a network symbol if you're having network issues. So as of right now, moving around the screen, it did seem a little laggy at first. Maybe it was just my imagination, but it did seem a little laggy right when I started moving it. But let's get out of a menu and let's, I didn't want to continue. I actually finished the game, so continuing's not gonna help. All right, so basically, right now, I'm not noticing anything. Again, this game isn't like super high action, so I did accidentally choose a level where I do have to chase things, but I'm not having too many issues. It also doesn't look bad. I mean, obviously, this is an indie game. It's not like highly realistic graphics, so it's gonna be a lot harder to notice if there's any sort of graphics problems with a game like this. But it genuinely doesn't look bad, even for 720p. I mean, granted, I'm also not the kind that usually cares about graphics too much. There might be someone that is, always plays in 4K, always, all that stuff, that if they see this game, start playing this game in 720p, it does really look bad to them. It does really... Since I can't notice from the game, let me just test something. Oh, well, I gotta hit the button. That's pretty responsive. Like, again, obviously it's tough. Like, all I'm doing is pausing a menu. It's really tough to tell if there's any, like, responsiveness issues, but it doesn't seem bad. It seems like there isn't any input lag. All right, I think we can quit this game for now. This is also really triggering the programmer in me, because the programmer in me is looking at this and wondering how they did it, because again, if I go out of full screen, I am playing this on Google Chrome. You have to play this in the browser. They don't have any standalone app. I don't know if they're going to integrate this into their Xbox app at some point, or if they're going to keep it on browser. But as of right now, it's in the browser. The programmer in me is really curious as to what exactly they did to create this. My guess, to get nerdy and technical, is that they're using WebAssembly. There's no way they're not. Which, to get, let me look up an actual definition, so I'm not talking out of my ass with WebAssembly. Yeah, WebAssembly has huge implications of the web platform. It provides a way to run code written in multiple languages on the web at near native speed, with client apps running on the web that previously couldn't have done so. Basically, this doesn't exactly explain how WebAssembly works, but that is sort of the idea. You're programming things in languages like C, C++, C#, Rust. You're essentially writing programs that you would write for desktop and just running them in a website, and they work extremely well. So honestly, it doesn't surprise me that it works extremely well if that's what they're using. I don't know if there's any way to check using the console to see if it is what they're using. I'm gonna be honest, I can't tell. It is possible that they just have it very well hidden. I mean, it is Microsoft, so it wouldn't be surprising if they have it very well hidden. I also am not a web developer. I've never really messed with WebAssembly, so I don't really know what I'm looking for, to be fair. But it wouldn't surprise me if that's what it is. It wouldn't surprise me if that's how they get the input so responsive, because it just instantly picks up the input just as a native app would. It is still impressive that wherever the servers are running from, I guess it must have to take your input, send it to those servers, and then bring it back. So that part, even if it's using WebAssembly or whatever, that part, the networking part, is impressive. And again, the programmer in me would love to see what the hell is going on there. So now, anyway, moving on from that, I moved on to Dead Cells because this game, I'm moving around a lot more. There's a lot more action once I get into it. I want to see, it doesn't matter what I choose, I want to see if this runs any worse, like if it's a lot more noticeable that it's not running a native application. There does seem to be more motion blur than I'm used to. I do also keep crouching, but that I feel like is more the controls issue. I don't remember down being crouch in this game. I'm gonna be completely honest. So that might just be an issue with the game. Maybe they made an update or something. I'm not gonna put that one on the cloud. So falling down there, it did feel a little sluggish. In all honesty, in all fairness, it has been a while since I've played this game, so I can't really tell whether it is anything with the cloud or if it is the game itself that is having these issues. It's been a while since I played it. Last time I played it would have been on Xbox, but I honestly could not tell you. Ooh. There's the first problem. Okay, that is the first time that I have run into an issue that is clearly network-based. That's one of the things I was wondering if it would happen, because I mentioned earlier that I played MLB The Show. When that first came out, me and my one friend were playing it on mobile devices because it is available on cloud, and I didn't have it downloaded on my Xbox. So we were playing on our mobile devices over lunch, and I did run into some issues like that where it would lag for just a second or two and then catch up. Those issues were few and far between, but I wanted to see whether it was an issue with the fact that I was using my phone and I was over Wi-Fi, or if it was just a cloud issue, because now I'm hardwired. So obviously, if it wasn't a cloud issue, I shouldn't be running into that issue anymore because I'm not over Wi-Fi. But because I'm over a wired connection, it does tell me that at least occasionally you will have lag spikes like that. Again, it's only the first one that I've run into. Let me do one more level if I can, survive. Also, any of the lag issues I'm running into, I'm going to notice with the next game. So if the sluggishness that I feel every once in a while is because of cloud and not just because this is the way the game runs, and if those lag spikes happen a lot more regularly, it is the game I want to play next is going to it's going to be a lot more noticeable. It's going to be a lot more of a big deal in those games than it is in this one. Or that game, I should say, not those games. Yeah, I haven't really noticed any other glaring issues. I do feel, okay, I'm dead. I do feel like even though I'm not the kind of person that's super focused on graphics. I usually don't give a shit about having like the best graphics. The 720p, I feel like that might be the source of a lot of the sluggishness that I'm seeing. It's not. It's because it doesn't feel sluggish. Like, to play it doesn't feel sluggish, but it does look sluggish. And I think it's just maybe the lower resolution. Maybe subconsciously I'm knowing it. I notice it, and that's how it's like that's how my brain's processing it. Just it looking sluggish. Let's move to. I don't want to do a survey. Let's move on to a game that will absolutely, I guess I gotta do it from, do I need to, okay, that's also an issue. If you are in full screen, you have to leave full screen because the scroll is broken. That's just a normal bug. That's the kind of bugs I would expect from something that is just going into beta. I'm not gonna hold that against them, but I want to play Forza Horizon 4. I have played a lot of Forza Horizon 4, not necessarily recently, but I have played a lot in the past, both on console and on PC. And on PC, it obviously looks a ton better, so I've seen what this game can look like at its best. Also, the fact that it is high action, because it's a racing game. If there is any sluggish, if there is any input lag, which I haven't noticed any input lag, that's the one thing I haven't noticed, which is definitely a plus. But if there is any sluggishness in terms of the network, in terms of just the way it looks, I am absolutely going to notice it in a racing game more than I'm going to notice it in any other game. One other thing I want to check while I am waiting for this to sync my data, which that again is not a cloud issue, that's just an Xbox issue. Some games, if you're syncing back and forth, I've had it with Forza Horizon 4, syncing from PC to Xbox, it just takes forever. I don't know if that's something Microsoft can fix, but they haven't. The main thing I wanted to look at, that's really not that bad. That's not that bad. So I wanted to see what my network was doing. And I'm going to look at this while I'm playing the game as well. It really is not using a lot of my network. It's using less than 1 megabit per second. So that is actually, ooh, it did spike. As it's loading, it is spiking, but I haven't seen it go too far above 10. I think it might have hit like 11.4. That's also interesting. As the game's loading, the network hit a lot harder. I don't know if it's because it could just be because the screen's changing. If the screen is static, it doesn't have to keep refreshing the screen, so it's a similar idea to how if you ever watch a YouTube video with like a lot of like, especially if you watch a YouTube video that has like static in it, just like, you know, TV screen static, yeah, has it there for a little bit, you'll notice everything gets pixelated because to really oversimplify what that is, it has to do with the bit rate, especially on YouTube where the videos are compressed. You're limiting the amount of data that each frame has. Basically, the bit rate means that for each frame, if you have a higher bit rate, there's more data. If you have a lower bit rate, there's less data. So the video is going to look sharper and look cleaner if you have a higher bit rate than if you have a lower bit rate, regardless of the resolution. I mean, obviously, the resolution matters probably more, but the bit rate can also affect that. I don't even know. All right, I just got achievement. to be fair, on YouTube, it might not even be bitrate that's the issue. It might be just their compression algorithm, the way it limits the amount of data that's stored for each frame. But while it was sitting on the loading screen and the screen wasn't moving, maybe it was using less network. And while it was loading, it was, you know, the thing was spinning, the pictures were changing, it was using more network. Although now it is sitting pretty solidly, even though nothing is moving in the background, sitting pretty solidly at around 6, 7, between 6 to 8 megabits per second. So I could be very wrong about that. I'm going to check it out while I'm driving around to see if that just absolutely boosts or if it stays pretty, like, static. Nope, I looked over and it already peaked at about 12.8 just for me doing that. So I'm not sure if the network is it definitely seems like it's because of the video, because the game isn't loading anything right now, but there is moving videos, the background is moving, so it does seem like it is directly related to the video. That is like the amount that the screen is changing. I need to see if I can like look into if there's any technical details as to how this was done, because that would be very interesting to see. All right, so there's definitely some sound glitching now. Now that there's like a constant sound going, there is sound glitching. I'm not gonna blame that on input lag, the me crashing part. That I'm gonna blame completely on me. But other than that, I can't tell. I can't tell. It does feel like there's a little bit of input lag. It's slight, but for a game like this, that affects it a little more. Like, if I'm driving and everything's changing, I feel like it has to do with the fact that the video is updating so much. Maybe it's causing the input lag, because it seems like when I'm moving heavily, that's also when the sound starts glitching. Hold on, I want to just get through this. Actually, it doesn't matter. Why am I worried about the speed zone? But if I'm driving straight, now watch this trigger. Watch this trigger for the brake. When I click it, it's not like a full second or anything, but there is that split, that little bit of time, like that quarter second or whatever, that the brake light doesn't come on right away. And now I'm off a cliff, but so it does feel like there is some input lag. I was noticing it with the turning as well, but the turning is a little more difficult to demonstrate. Let's try it again. Yeah, even when I'm tapping it and not holding it, it's processing like a quarter of a second after I've already let go. For a game like this, that's not ideal. That's not ideal. Like a quarter second input lag on a racing game. Again, like something like Donut Country, even Dead Cells, you might not notice it. I'm sure there's some serious Dead Cells players that would probably notice it, but someone like me that's gonna die anyway doesn't. But for this, something where speed, like you're going fast the entire time. Speed is a huge part of the game. To have any sort of input lag can really affect things. Other than that, yeah, you can actually see at the bottom, unless YouTube compression fucks this, you can see it is very pixelated down the bottom. Like, well, not very pixelated. You can kind of tell that there is some definition. There is some. Let's get back to the snow, because I could notice it way better when I was moving fast in the snow. Yeah, right there you can kind of see. It's not 100% pixelated. I'm sure if I am going slow, you might be able to see some definition in those pixels, but it isn't as clear as it could be. It sort of is falling into what I said about the YouTube compression, actually, where the YouTube compression or bitrate or whatever it is, when there's a lot of action going, it pixelates more. It becomes less defined in order to be able to process all that stuff faster. In order to process the video faster, it doesn't process every individual pixel change. It processes... It lowers the resolution temporarily, so it doesn't have to process that. So it absolutely is noticeable in this game. It was already sort of noticeable in Dead Cells. It is absolutely noticeable here. And again, I am not the kind that cares about... I am not the kind... What the fuck am I doing? I'm not the kind that cares about heavy graphics. I'm completely fine, even though I've played this on PC and it looks amazing on PC, I'm completely fine playing it on base Xbox One, where, you know, the frame rate isn't as high. You don't, you know, you can't turn it up to like high or ultra graphic settings, and I'm completely fine with that. But when I am noticing and very clearly seeing the pixelation and seeing like resolution issues, like especially now, I mean, it is snowing, so that is part of like the distance blur, but even close up, it doesn't, it's not bad, it's playable. Even with the input lag, it's not unplayable. That is obviously the worst part of this. Yeah, it's still not that bad. And I might actually test this on the PC version to see if that that break lag, if that is part of game, like just on Game Pass, or if that happens on just the PC version as well. But it also doesn't look near as clear. I don't need to finish this race. I think I can quit the game. Let's actually go, like I said, into Forza Horizon 4, because that is the one game I can one-to-one compare this to. We'll say while I'm letting this load, I did not notice any more lag spikes during that. The network held up fine. There was that one lag spike in Dead Cells, so you might occasionally get those. I've only been playing on Game Pass for about 35 minutes. So it's not even like I've been playing that long, but it is very possible that if I were to play this, you know, sit and play like a 2-3 hour gaming session, I might hit those lag spikes multiple times. I wouldn't say it's a major issue. It is something that hopefully they can get fixed. If it was on their end, it only happened the one time, so it's also very possible that there was just a hiccup in my network that caused that. It is very possible that it was not on their end. But if that is on their end, if that is more of a widespread issue and it's not just me that runs into that, then hopefully it's something that they can address. But if it is something you just have to live with, that's not necessarily that bad of a thing. As for the resolution, I definitely hope they are able to up that to 1080p. Because like I said, if I'm starting to notice that, people that do care about graphics a lot more than I do are going to notice that. So it recommended medium settings for me. So we can actually see 1080p 60 FPS at medium, so not even ultra graphic settings. I feel like I was running this on higher graphic settings previously. If we can play this at medium settings and it is a drastic improvement, then that just goes to show you that Xbox needs to make... It's optimizing for my PC, but that shows that Xbox really needs to make improvements with the streaming. Whether that 1080p that they're testing fixes those problems, or whether it is something else that they need to do on top of that, I'm not sure, but let's get into the game and see how it looks not through the cloud first. It is absolutely a noticeable increase in graphics quality, which I knew there would be a noticeable increase in graphics quality, but you also don't get the pixelization. Like, you're moving quick, it's not going to pixelize because it's not sending a video of the game to my screen. It is just rendering the game directly on my PC. So again, if you're playing over cloud, if you're not playing the game on a system that you have physically, it's not downloaded on the system and you're not playing it physically, you're going to have issues like that. But hopefully them raising the resolution, hopefully they can make it a little better, maybe even have the ability to stream a higher bit rate and use more network for people that their network can handle it. Because like my network, it was only using I only saw it use like 12 and a half megabits per second, where I have 100 meg internet. So if this is the only thing I'm doing, I can handle a lot more bit rate. I can handle a lot higher resolution of video. I also am not noticing any of the input lag. Yeah, the input lag was absolutely because of the cloud, not because of the PC. Because if I drive, get a straightaway, if I drive, and then instant. So there was absolutely input lag with the cloud, which again, it's one of those where it is kind of expected to have input lag, because that does confirm it doesn't do any sort of like fuckery on your system to handle the input before it sends to the server. It absolutely sends your input to the server directly. Even at a quarter of a second, it is still impressive that it can send your input to a server. The server can send back the video, and you can see the results of your input in a quarter of a second. But for games, especially like for something like Donut Country, again, that'd be fine. I didn't notice any input lag with that. But for something like this, where, you know, speed, you're always going high speed, precision can be important in certain scenarios, you know, it's gonna be a lot more of an issue, is what I'm saying. So that was me testing out Xbox. Is it just Game Pass Cloud Gaming? I know it used to be Project X Cloud, but I guess they don't really have a cool name. I don't know what it is with these game companies, like, completely throwing out the cool names once the thing's actually released. Like xCloud, I feel like is a good name. What was it? Project Scorpio or whatever? They're like the Series X was gonna be, and then they're just like, nah, it's just Series X. So yeah, looking at the three things I was gonna test. Network speed, I feel like that was fine. Didn't really have any network problems. There was that one hiccup during Dead Cells, but because it only happened once, I can kind of chalk that up to my network. I've had plenty of times where I'll just have a random hiccup during a Twitch stream, like it'll just be going fine, 1080p, no problems, and then it'll just freeze for like 2 seconds. So it's very possible that that had to do with my network. The fact that it didn't happen more than that one time, I'm gonna give it the benefit of the doubt for now. If I decide to play on the cloud gaming in the future, which I don't really have much of a reason to use it because I have an Xbox, I have a good gaming PC, but if for some reason I try to use it in the future, you know, then I'll hopefully see for sure whether or not the network hiccups, whether that is a problem or whether it was just a one-off thing. As for the other two, there's some work to be done there. Visual quality, you didn't really notice it in Donut Country, didn't even notice it that much in Dead Cells, but you kind of You really notice it in Forza Horizon 4 when you're actually going fast. Hopefully when they upgrade to 1080p, that alleviates some of it. I mean, it will alleviate some of it because you're raising the resolution. Obviously, it's going to look better. But I don't know. I feel like there needs to be... I don't really know what they would be able to do with that, because that's sort of the same thing with any sort of video compression. In order to save space on the video file that it's sending to you and use less network speed, it's gonna have to sacrifice some quality. You're never going to get graphics as good as you would if you're playing natively. So I'm not really sure if there's anything they can do about that. Raising the resolution would definitely help, but if there's anything they can do to make the visual quality a little sharper, they should probably do that. But again, I have no idea what they would do. And then input lag. Boy, oh boy. I don't remember noticing any input lag during Donut Country, but that's also a slower game. It probably saved some network speed because it doesn't have to keep updating the frame, because you're not moving around too much. The screen is fairly static, so probably saved some bandwidth from the video and maybe used some of that extra bandwidth, or maybe it didn't have to process as much and that reduced the input lag. I'm not really sure from a technical standpoint what exactly would have reduced the input lag. Dead Cells, I believe I mentioned that it felt sluggish. That probably could have been why. It could have been input lag, just not serious enough to really be extremely noticeable, but just enough that I could feel it without actually knowing that there was input lag. Forza Horizon 4, on the other hand, yeah, that wasn't good. The input lag was definitely noticeable. To be fair, I was trying to look for the input lag, but I feel like that amount of input lag is not acceptable for a racing game. I feel like if I were to try to play that on cloud for an extended period of time, I might, to be fair, I might end up compensating for it, but it's still not something that I should have to compensate for. That amount of input lag is, like I said, it's one of the main things that would just, me personally, would keep me from ever using the cloud gaming as a main source of gaming. I'd rather wait the 2-3 hours or whatever it is to download and install a 50 gig game than try to play that same game with that amount of input lag. Also, after I tried it, me and my one friend that I mentioned in the intro that's been using it for MLB The Show, we were discussing what it possibly could have been, like what the input lag could have been, because he's not noticing it when he plays MLB The Show. First thing is, like I said with Donut Country, there's not a lot of movement. MLB The Show, it's very static. If you're batting, you're just sitting behind the batter. The only things that are really moving are the pitcher as he's pitching and your character. So maybe that, the fact that the screen doesn't have to update as much, somehow reduces the input lag. The other thing we discussed is upload speeds, because I didn't know this, but the Xbox Game Pass for the cloud gaming, they suggest, what is it? It was like 10 megabits per second. I think 5 was like the minimum, or it was like 4.75 or whatever was the minimum that they suggested, but they suggested like 9.5 as the maximum. First of all, those numbers, I am just trying to remember off the top of my head. I could Google search them, but I remember when I tried to search them before, it is next to impossible to find them. I don't know what it is about all these companies and just thinking like upload speed doesn't matter. ISPs are the same way, where they just think, upload speed, who cares? But that those numbers are so hard to find. But either way, those numbers are irrelevant, because I tested it out. I tried playing Forza Horizon 4 after I did the video once we started discussing this, and I used something called Wireshark to monitor my network traffic, and the amount of data that was going to the Game Pass servers, like from my computer to the Game Pass servers, the amount of data I was uploading was way below the minimum. The minimum, what did I say, 4.75 megabits per second? The amount that I was sending was, I think, around 0.8. I'll put a screenshot up on the video. I took a screenshot of the Wireshark, the chart, showing the amount of data that I was uploading, both the amount of data I was uploading in general and the amount of data that was being uploaded specifically to Game Pass. It never even hit 1 megabit per second. So I don't think the upload speed is the issue, because I never even got close to hitting my max upload speed and their minimum upload speed. So I don't see any reason why that would be that much of an issue. I think it does have to do with just the faster paced games, the ones where the screen's constantly refreshing, that somehow causes the input to lag. If that's the case, they need to hopefully figure out some way to be more efficient with the input. I don't know why it would be that hard to be that efficient with the input, because you're sending 15 buttons and then 6 axes, the left trigger, right trigger, left stick X and Y, and the right stick X and Y. So really that shouldn't be a lot of data that you have to send. And I think I looked it up. I went down the rabbit hole with like input lag and like the refresh rate of controllers. It should only have to send all of that data. I think it was 120 hertz. I could be wrong with that, but it was somewhere around there, meaning that it only needs to send the controller input 120 times per second, and the amount of data is just so small that, first of all, I don't even know why it would even hit that 4.75 megabit per second minimum. I also don't understand why you wouldn't be able to send that data quickly. And actually, now that I think about it, I actually didn't even think about it before. It might not even be the controller data that is being lagged out by that. It might just be the video data. Because think about it, if you don't have to update the screen as much because it's something static like in Donut Country or in MLB, you can reduce the amount of video data that you have to process and that you have to send back, which means you can get that information to the client quicker. Whereas if it's something that's constantly updating and you constantly have to be changing the frame and updating the video, that might take longer. So it might be that they're getting the input data as quick as possible, but that input lag, that time, is actually the time it's taking for me to get the video data. I don't know, I'm starting to ramble about technology. I am gonna just end it here, or else I could probably go for a while. I do actually think I want to maybe try to do more like technical, like technology type videos, because I am a programmer. I'm obviously interested in that stuff, and if I get an excuse to like dig into that and talk about it, great. But obviously I don't know if any of you would want to watch that type of stuff, so let me know in the comments if you would be interested in seeing anything like that. I don't know what type of more technological videos I would do, what format that would be, but let me know if you would be interested in anything in that realm. But anyway, I'm gonna wrap up this video. Yeah, final conclusion, Game Pass Cloud on PC, it's all right. Really depends on the type of game you're playing, but there definitely are some improvements that need to be made before it could be seen as just a widespread thing. And that really doesn't just go for Game Pass Cloud, that goes for cloud gaming in general. I haven't used Stadia, but I know there are a lot of similar complaints to that. I know I've heard people complain about input lag and things like that, so I think it's just a cloud gaming thing in general that needs to be figured out. But either way, I'm kind of excited to see where the technology goes. For now, though, I am going to end this video here. So thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.